And so that was a thrilling experience. And while I was doing it, the famous sexologist, Dr. Alfred Kinsey, came to visit me because he wanted to see these paintings. So there's a photograph of me with Dr. Kinsey in the house, which Crowley called the Abbey of Thelema, which means the will.
Whom you very early on started doing film as Curtis Harrington, with whom you started Creative Film Associates, went down to Sicily in 1955, and you actually visited the Thelema Abbey, or you made also this documentary, which is unfortunately lost, another of all these films that, especially as Daniel pointed out yesterday already, we'd all be so interested in seeing. But this place was in the 20s a kind of occult commune.
Well, it was just a farmhouse that he did not own. He just leased it in 1920. And Crowley, it was the first commune of people living together who were artists. And maybe they were having sex parties too. It's possible. But of course they were, since they made a religion of eros, so it's frivolous to call them parties. But basically that's what it was. It was like putting a religious aura over sex, as sex is a kind of magical communion, which with good sex is what it is. All right, so keep trying. Crowley was had many enemies, and he was kicked out of in 1923 of Sicily, of Cefalù, which is a few miles from Palermo, because he was English, and also they thought he was doing black magic, which did not make Mussolini too happy. And so Mussolini said, get rid of that crazy, evil Englishman. And so he was given his walking papers, and he had painted all of the walls of a leased house, which isn't a good idea because he never owned the house. This was like, so wonderful oil paintings of, like his bedroom is called La Chambre de Cauchemar, the room of nightmares. And the whole idea of the paintings was to show what nightmares were like. And for instance, on the edge of his bed, he had all these demons looking over the edge of the bed at what was going on in the bed. So he had a great sense of humor. But Mussolini had kicked him out, and then they had ordered the paintings all covered with whitewash. So I spent, in 1955, a whole summer very carefully scraping off the whitewash and using diluted acid to soften it up and then remove it. But under it were these beautiful oil paintings by Crowley. And so that was a thrilling experience. And while I was doing it, the famous sexologist, Dr. Alfred Kinsey, came to visit me because he wanted to see these paintings. So there's a photograph of me with Dr. Kinsey in the house, which Crowley called the Abbey of Thelema, which means the will, which was after Rabelais. He adored Rabelais. So.
And in closing, let's just consider whether the influence continues, the unprecedented influence that the Kinsey Institute has on the policy and standards of sex education, criminal punishment in the United States and around the world, and that Kinsey was directly influenced and had a tremendous affinity for Crowley, while a friendship with Satanist Kenneth Anger, for whom the Kinsey Institute to this day still operates and exhibit in honor of Kenneth Anger. And we should not be surprised to see some of the usual players involved, in that the Rockefeller Foundation was heavily involved in the foundation of the Kinsey Institute, and we see the shared coincidental affinity for Lucifer among the Rockefeller presence, as well as, you know, Prometheus is featured at Rockefeller Center ice rink, the symbolic equivalent to Lucifer, in that Prometheus stole the fire, the knowledge, the enlightenment from the gods to impart it to man, and, you know, angered the gods, as it were, which essentially is the foundational concept behind Lucifer, making Prometheus and Lucifer very much symbolic equivalents. It's just that you can't put a statue of Lucifer in the middle of a national institution without getting a little bit of flack over it. So they'll use Prometheus instead, and most people will be none the wiser. However, the connections are definitely there, very documentable, and unfortunately we see the results manifest in the complete depravity being passed off as curriculum to our children.